Hello and welcome everybody to today's broadcast. I am very excited to have our guest back with us today for the second time, Schaal. But before we get into the discussion that we're going to get into today, I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming back and for joining us. If you're here live, just put in the comments, say we're here, maybe tell us where you're from. If you have a question throughout the broadcast, we'll try to monitor that as well and get to anything that might come up. But definitely, I hope that you guys have had a good week and you guys are here ready to learn some things, soak in all that's about to take place here. So before we get into the rest of the broadcast, I do want to thank Preside Management for their support. They've been supporting us all month long. They've been a great sponsor, huge sponsor, and Preside Management is here local in Southern California. And they're a farm labor contractor. They also do like bookkeeping and management services, financial management for businesses. So if you're a business owner and you're out there and you need some additional help, maybe with payroll or anything like that, they're a good resource and would be glad to help. So it's been a crazy month. I can't believe it's already near the end of January. We started this broadcast just a few weeks ago, really. And I am excited about the growth. I'm excited about all the new people that are coming to the page every day. And I'm especially excited for those that tune into the broadcast and listen and learn and then apply what they learn. And the result being a better family, more improved lives, a stronger relationship with your kids. I mean, that's really what it's about. So I definitely appreciate you guys. If it weren't for you, there would be no reason to do this. So I don't want to delay anymore. I want to welcome my guest today, Cami. She's coming on for the second time, and we're going to dive deeper into the family, building strong families. And thank you, Cami, again for joining us, your time. I know that today's going to be awesome. Last time it was fantastic. Our hour went by so fast.
I know. I just looked at the clock and I was like, okay, probably the next time I look, it'll be after 2 and we'll be like, whoa, we're done.
I know.
That hour flew by.
You're joining us actually. So I'm on the West Coast. I'm over in Southern California and you're joining us from the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm in, what would they say? I'm in the future?
Yeah.
Because it's 1 o'clock here already.
I know. I texted you earlier. I was like, good morning. I was like, wait a minute. I realized it's morning over here, but you've already been up for several hours.
I'm like, Jason, like the morning was a long time ago. I've had all my coffee.
Ready to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
awesome.
Thanks for understanding yesterday as well. I know we were supposed to do it yesterday, but my puppy has got a little eye infection, so needed to take her to the vet and get that situated, which we did. She seems to be on the mend. So
awesome. Yeah, I know. I understand things happen. So no big deal. It gave me an opportunity to come on and spill my guts out to everybody a little bit.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm going to have to go back and watch.
Yeah. No, I just shared a little bit more about like the vision of parenting accurately, what the intent is and how we're going to do it. So there's a lot of things working on the back end. I'm excited for you. Yeah, there's a lot of things that's happening on the back end that people can't see, other than just the broadcast. And, it's a lot of work and there's a lot of pieces to put together. I'm really, what's hard when you're trying to do something like this is I want to build it fast. I want to grow quickly, but I know that there's a foundation that I have to lay and I'm working on that foundation now. And I think the more time that I take and the more care that I put into the foundation, the higher we could grow.
Well, you don't want to build it on sand, right?
Right.
Like that's biblical. Exactly. You want to build a house on a firm, solid, rock of a foundation. And if you don't take the time to do that, it'll fall. And you don't want that to happen. It's too important.
And then
but birthing a vision is work.
Yes.
and a lot of it is blood, sweat, and tears that nobody sees,
Right. I mean, it's emotionally draining. It's quite insane. But I feel like the larger that we build the foundation, the higher we could go. If I shortcut this process, we'll build, it'll be a strong foundation, but I won't be able to go so high. And I have a big vision for what Parenting Accurately will become and what it is becoming. And so I shared a little bit about that yesterday, but I just shared a glimpse of the reality of what I see and what I know is possible. Yeah. So, thank you for being a part of it. I mean, every person that's joined the page, that's liked a video or commented, I think they're all a part of it. And, I really want to encourage everybody to come in and join with us, link up. I mean, this is going to be something that's going to multiply 1 million times. And I believe that out of this, we're going to be able to create curriculum that will be circulated throughout the United States. And millions of people will have access to learn this. Just a quick sneak peek. In the future, I'm not going to say when because I don't really know yet, but in the future, there's going to be a Parenting Accurately certification program to where parents can go through a rigorous program, learn how to parent accurately, and then they'll be certified to be able to take that and return it and teach that to others. So
that's
there's
awesome.
A lot to do. And I'm not going to be able to do it alone. That's the thing. And I feel like right now it's time to build the foundation and assembling. I'm just praying and God's bringing people and he's assembling a team. Because like I said, I'm good at certain things, but I'm not good at everything. And I realize that the bigger this becomes, I'm not going to do it all. I would be doing a disservice if I thought that I could do it all. I could do anything. I believe that. I can do anything. Doesn't mean I can do everything well, though.
Exactly. And you're not meant to. We're meant to be in community. We're meant to work together. We're meant to feed off of each other's strengths and support each other in our weaknesses. And same thing with family. I mean, that's what families do, right? Like, when you have the most functional family is when everybody has a seat at the table. Everybody feels valued and loved and accepted for who they are, like their core being, right? And everybody can shine in their own way, And so the same thing, you'll create the same thing here.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of work, especially the beginning. There are days where you go and then you feel like, oh, this is awesome. This is going very well. And then other days you just feel like, wow, is this even moving? But we know that it is.
So I listened to, I know, today's not been an easy day for me. And because I very much feel like, certain things are crumbling, crashing, falling apart sort of. But I was listening to we're in the middle of the 31 days of wisdom. So I'm catching up on that challenge. And I believe it was Doug Addison. I watched so many today. I knew I needed to do that. I needed to set my mind straight. So I just kind of kept it going, kept watching. And I believe it was Doug Addison who said, sometimes you feel like you're being pulled backwards, like things are going, you're not making progress. Like you want to be making progress. You're being pulled backwards, but it's actually, you're in God's slingshot.
Oh, wow.
So that feeling of going backwards is actually meant to then propel you even further than you could have gone on your own, right? If you just kind of throw something without that pull backwards. And I know now that I needed to hear that today, and I think it can feel that way in marriage. I think it can feel that way in family. I think it can, obviously in business and, just in life, you can feel like, wait, I thought I took care of this problem, or I thought I had breakthrough in that area, or I thought I understood that fully, I had, and then you find yourself sometimes in that same place going, how did I end up here? Why are things sliding back? Why am I losing ground? I thought I was taking ground. you know.
Especially with our kids, sometimes we can feel that way. We can find
Mm-hmm.
ourselves in a battle with our kids, and we're trying to get them to understand something that we want them to understand so that their life can be better, and they don't get it. And then, and then even then they push back. And in that moment, it does feel like you're just being pulled back. You're like fighting a losing
Mm-hmm.
battle. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you don't quit and you don't give up, there's breakthrough. And then you get launched forward, and then they go with you. And like, then
Yeah,
they
and it's
get,
not in our timing.
yeah,
We want it to be in our timing, right? We want it
right.
to be like, I've taken care of this problem.
Yep.
Done. We're never going to revisit that again. You've learned that lesson, you know? It's
We would
not the
hope.
way we work. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just not the way, I don't know that it's the way human nature really works, you know?
Right. That's for sure. No, it doesn't always work
Yeah.
out that way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I know that we kind of left off with the essential oil topic, but I do want to take some time and get back into that because I know that that's an important part of your life and you're passionate about it, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
as a skeptic over here, you almost had me convinced last week. But so we'll give you a second shot at that. And I have some
All
questions of
right.
my own, but I know that there's people out there watching and that, they've probably already sold on it and they love it. So I would enjoy that part of that. But let's go back into, building strong families. And, we covered quite a few things from, the
Mm-hmm.
marriage relationship to just being persevering with your kids and having patience. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just continue that and share. I'm excited to dive into this a little bit more with you.
Yeah. I mean, I did share with you, I think that parenting is ever changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just same thing with life, right? We feel like things are going along smoothly, and then we kind of hit the bump in a road or a hill or a mountain to climb. It's not predictable. And I know I shared with you before I came on, I grabbed my tissue. I think I got myself together now, but I was at a youth retreat this weekend with my son, my special needs son. He's 17, senior in high school, and our senior high youth group every year goes away this weekend in January for a youth retreat at like a camp. It's a Young Life camp up in New York, and my son has never been able to go. And he hasn't been able to go because he needs some help overnight, and the sleeping accommodations, are like cabins
Right.
with like 8 to 10, boys and leaders, and they do not. There's no there's no women in the boys' cabin, and there's no men in the girls' cabin. So even as a leader, I would have to have been separated from him. So that just was not going to work for him. So I opted to volunteer as the camp nurse. There were about 300 campers there over the weekend, and so I volunteered my time as the camp nurse. They're always, so grateful for that kind of help, and that way my son and I could have our own cabin so that he
Mm-hmm.
could get the support that he needed overnight, but also be able to participate during the day. And he was so looking forward to this, and I was so grateful to be able to have the skills, right, that I could offer my services
Right.
to them. And but what I didn't realize was the emotional toll. Oh, I'm going to start crying again. That it was going to take on me, because I mean, I fully accept my son. I accept his limitations and all of that. I'm not like in the dark about his capabilities. I'm very clear what he can
Right.
do, what he can't do, all that stuff. But actually spending an entire weekend with neurotypical, I hate to say normal, I don't know that anybody's normal, but what we consider like neurotypical kids, and seeing them right next to each other, my son and just sort of a chasm. And they're wonderful to him. It has nothing to do with how people treat my son. It's just the ability for him to do things and function, and the help that he needs. And it was hard, like harder than I expected.
I can only
And
imagine.
they're all they took a senior picture, and they're all talking about what college they're going to go to, and who they're taking to prom, and my son will be at prom. But he's taking a family friend that
That's
can
awesome.
support him. Like
Right.
that's even different. I'll be at prom. I'll be
Right.
a chaperone so that if he needs somebody, right? Um, so it's just he's not upset about it. That's the thing. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't say, I want to go to college. Why am I not? He's not. I'm grateful that he doesn't ask those kind of questions. He just kind of goes with it. And he was just thrilled to be there. But that was hard. That it was like you go through a continual grieving process, I think, when you have a special needs child,
Yeah.
and an adult. And then I realized from a church perspective, from a ministry perspective, that my son loves senior high youth group. He loves it. And that is his social life.
Wow.
Like, my son doesn't do play dates. My son doesn't get in the car and go have lunch on a day off from school like the rest of his peers do.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know that parents who don't have special needs children really get that, that we as the family are his social life, or we have to orchestrate it for him, because that's not something he's able to do. Right? So youth group for him has become his social life. He has
Wow.
school and he has youth group. Right? So all of a sudden I realized, this year is going to come to an end and he won't have his social life.
Mm.
Like, it'll be done. I'm like, what is Jeffrey going to do? And he loves church, but he's not an adult. So he's
Right.
not going to engage with the adult ministries, right? But he's aged out of the youth ministries. So, like, there's no place for my son. Like, it hit me. There's no place for my son. And he loves Jesus, and he is, he is so filled with the Holy Spirit that I was like, I don't want this piece of him to not grow, because he has so much to offer the kingdom, right? Like,
Right.
he has his
For
own
sure.
place in the kingdom. And I'm so, God's so good, because I had never been to this youth retreat before. And at the retreat, there were 2 groups of special needs teen young adults. And there's a program through Young Life called Capernaum. I had never heard of it before, but
Wow.
it is for teens and young adults. And so we don't have Young Life in our area, but they actually have a director here that wants to get that program up off the ground. And so I'm having coffee with her on Friday,
That's awesome.
because I was like, we're doing this.
Yes.
Like, I need to do this for Jeffrey. And clearly, if my son needs it, there are so many other special needs kids, young adults, teens, whatever, that would desire it as well. And their families would want that for them. So why not just create something for the community?
Right. Yeah, I'm
You
sure that
know?
there's many other kids out around there that could use that. And
Mm-hmm.
with all of the social media today and what we can do online, just knowing that you're launching out and you're stepping out and you're going to help create something like that over
Mm-hmm.
there, it will inspire others to do the same.
Yeah. And I think, everybody needs volunteers, right?
Mm.
And so you kind of have to be willing. Like, I was like, I just can't sit here and go, like, I wish there was something for Jeffrey. I'm going to have to put in the, blood, sweat, and tears, the work to do this for him, that would then impact others. And I think that's a lot of what, we do as parents too. Like, it's definitely not my wheelhouse. It's not something that I'm like totally comfortable with, right? But if I waited for the perfect person to come along to do it, would it actually happen?
Right. It's hard to say. Probably. Eventually it might, but why not now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
See a need and fill it. I think
Yep.
that's a lot of what parenting is, right? Like, how do you pinch hit for your kids? If your
Right.
husband's working or traveling, mom may need to become the baseball coach one night, right? Like, you just sort of, how do you just show up in that space and just fill a need?
Right. Like learning to adapt and, like you said, if you see a need and fill it. As parents,
Mm-hmm.
we might see different needs that our kids have, and we might feel inadequate or like, I don't really know about that. But the best thing
Mm-hmm.
that we can do is figure out, like, learn it, do our best, and fill that need. And
Mm-hmm.
I think God gives us a lot of grace when we do that. When we just move to action, instead of wait and just let that need go unfulfilled, do our best to fill that need.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids don't need. I've heard a saying lately a lot. You know, that done is better than perfect.
I love that
I've been
saying.
hearing that a lot
Yep.
lately. I'm like, done is better than perfect, right? But I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, well, but good is the enemy of great. And so there's a little conflict there, but I think there's value in both. And but I think if we see a need that our kids have, we just fill it to the best of our ability. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the time we'll see that that's enough. Most of the
Yeah.
time we'll find that that's enough. And if for some
And I
reason
think
it's,
in the doing,
mm-hmm,
you also maybe find other resources or other,
for
right?
sure,
Like I feel like with this, getting this ministry off the ground, I may not do it perfectly, but probably through the process, I'm going to meet somebody who's gifted in certain areas that I'm not. And so they may be able to partner with me, right? But if I never took that step, I think that's the done is better than perfect. Like if you never actually step out, then you'll never get anywhere.
right?
So yeah, do the done is better than perfect. Start forward progress, but then good is the enemy of great. So you can refine.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
don't just settle for like done is better than perfect and it's kind of mediocre, but
right.
it's good enough, right? Like I think you can do both in tandem. It's just a process versus trying to have it perfect before you even walk out the door. Because I don't know that you know what perfect is until you're in the thing.
Yeah, that's true. And it's amazing what you'll learn in the process. You know,
Mm-hmm. And how you grow.
you'll grow a lot. So I think that's probably so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talking about that, what would you say is like the motivation to do that? I think many like if we're talking to a parent and their kids have a need, and the parent can feel that need, they just not sure how. Um, you know, I feel like there's some fire, you know, like under the parent that would motivate them to step out, because stepping out into something you don't know might be scary. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm trying to think of an example. You know, I mean, something as simple as taking a baseball and throwing it to your kid, you know, and just like joining them on the baseball field, and you've never thrown a
Mm-hmm.
baseball in your life, or maybe, you know, just something as simple as that. You know, we could
Mm-hmm.
talk about that to really complicated things. It's the same concept here.
Yeah.
You know, but the motivation to step out. A lot of people are afraid these days. They're afraid of failure. There's a high expectation on many people, and I think as adults, as parents, you know, we have high expectations at work. We have high expectations in the marriage. We have high expectations, you know, with other family, with friends, and so then we have high
Mm-hmm.
expectations from kids. And so, I
Well,
wonder.
and then you don't show your failures because we're a
Right?
social media
Well,
culture.
no.
So everybody's putting their highlight reel on
Right.
social media. So instead of failure being, in my opinion, I mean, failure shouldn't be demonized. It should actually be looked at like you're moving in the right direction. We fail
Yeah.
forward.
Exactly.
You know, that's how we learn. If we just have success after success after success, you never actually learn things in the
Right.
process. You know, if things come too easily, and not that everything has to be hard, you know, but that's part of life is learning. And if you don't learn how to understand failure as a, you know, the next step, like, okay, this didn't work. How can I refine that? I mean, that's like the best way to learn, right? Real life
Yeah.
experience. But I think in our social media culture, people aren't authentic and they're not vulnerable and they're not saying like, oh man, I really screwed up. And so then in real life, we do the same thing, you know? And so we're not willing to like get out on the softball field and like, you know, decide to help out the coach because we never played softball
We're
before.
not a pro softball
Like,
player.
right. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
Your kid doesn't care. And I think that's the thing. Like our kids don't care. Our kids just want us present.
That's
They
for sure.
just want us present, you know?
Yeah.
And I always said if I was going to, because I was a working mom, so I didn't volunteer a ton at school.
Mhm.
But when I did, I volunteered in the ways where my son would actually see me. Like I didn't go in and like, bag up, let's say we do like sportswear, like spirit wear. I didn't go bag up spirit wear only because it wasn't something where he actually saw me, but I would go help in the classroom, even just stuffing folders, because then he would physically see me there. Cause I felt like this is the limited time that I have. And all he wants to do is see me. Right. So he'd be like, my mom was in school today. You know, that would like excite him. Yes. It didn't have to be the most glamorous job, but it was like where he physically saw me being a part of his life, you know, being engaged in his education or in, you know, with his friends or, you know, whatever.
I think it's easy that as a parent, it's easy to get into this mindset or this idea that we cannot fail in front of our kids.
I think the best thing you can do is fail. So here's my thing, and you may disagree with me. Let's see. So, you know, heard early on in, like marriage, you know, when my husband and I were newly married and you're kind of looking for marriage advice and marital advice. And not that our marriage is perfect, but I've kind of moved beyond that. I feel like we have it mostly figured out most days. But people would say, never fight in front of the kids. Never fight in front of the kids. And honestly, I'm not sure that that is the best advice because when you're married long enough, when you deal with anybody long enough, you will have arguments. You will disagree. And if our children never see a married couple disagree, work through their problems, compromise, forgive one another, and still be loving the entire time, how are they going to understand what marriage really looks like?
Right. Yeah. I think
right. I'm not saying knock down, drag out. You're not,
disrespectful.
You know, no disrespectful stuff, but disagreements to say, you know what, honey, I didn't really appreciate that you did that or didn't do that. Or, you know, I mean, I think it's important. And then it's important too, if you do lose your temper in front of the kids, to go back to them and say, mommy and daddy lost their temper. Right. Like we should have had more restraint. But, you know, sometimes, you know, our emotions get the best of us, but we still love each other. And this is how we forgave each other. This is a little bit of the conversation we have. Like, I just think that because kids learn by example.
Right.
And if you're not setting if you're modeling a perfect marriage where you never argue and you never get upset, but you're battling in the bedroom when the kids go to bed, then they're going to be in a relationship and they're going to have their first argument and they're going to be like, we can't be together.
Right.
Right. Because now what's wrong? What's wrong? This is not what it should look like. Right.
I never saw this before. This isn't what it's supposed to be. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. I believe it. You know, certainly like you said, you know, respectful, not like a knockout drag out fight. I mean, obviously that's a whole nother level.
No.
You know, we don't want, I think it's important not to make the kids choose like who's right or wrong of the parents. And it's like, you know, and then as kids grow up and they become teenagers, they're more aware. Even in preteens, they become more aware and they're constantly watching. So even through that transition, you know, the dads want to be the hero. The moms are always want to swoop in and nurture. And so if we're afraid to fail in front of them, they'll never understand what failure really looks like in your parents. But like you said, I think that's a really good point, that they'll never learn that, hey, well, number one, this is okay, but this is the proper way to fight. This is a healthy way to fight. And I think that's also a very important key. Because there's there's a healthy way to disagree and work through an issue. And then there's a toxic way. And
and conflict isn't all bad. We're so conflict averse that if you don't agree with somebody, then you can't even be friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And it's like, no, conflict is not the problem. It's the ability to agree to disagree or be respectful during the conflict that's the problem.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know?
So good.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So failure is not bad. We fail forward. And it's okay to fail in front of our kids. Yeah.
I'd actually encourage it. Like, not on purpose. Like, don't fabricate the failure. But, I mean, be honest with them about, like, that was not the right choice. Yeah. Or I don't know. Have you ever done this? You've been on a phone call, you know, customer service. You're frustrated with whatever it may be, you know, your power company or your car mechanic and you've, like, lost your temper. Like, I have a little switch and I'm like, "Ma!" And I've done that on the phone, and then the kids will be in the car, right? I'm driving and I'm all mad or whatever. And then, I hang up and I'm like, wow. And the kids are kind of looking at me like, woo, mom, like you were really hot, you were really mad. And that's the opportunity to say, I really lost my patience. And that I was not very nice to that person. And that customer service rep probably has zero power to take care, just probably takes this from people every day. And I shouldn't have done that, right? It leads, if you allow it, it can lead to good conversation. Right. But and then they'll see me the next time saying, I know this is not your fault. I'm just very, very frustrated. I'm sorry I lost my temper. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done that to you today, and you don't deserve this. Like, I honor you as a human being, even if I'm frustrated with the rules or whatever, your company,
And then they see that modeled. And so then they can really take that in and, be proud of you.
Yeah.
I really, I just can't get away. Lately, I've had this idea in my mind, this image of a bridge. And the bridge is connecting two hearts. The heart of us as the parent is on one side, and then the heart of the child is on the other side. And I've just been thinking about that a lot. And I talked about that a little bit yesterday. And, keeping that bridge open, that bridge of love, the bridge of communication, and just like keeping that constant connection open and that flow from us to our kids will create the growth. It'll create everything that they need to be able to grow and be healthy. And just thinking about like different things that can stop that growth or that stop that clutter that can end up on the bridge to keep things from hitting them, and to keep the things that are in their heart from getting to us. We talked a couple weeks ago about creating an emotionally safe home, and we could talk about that for days. That's so important. And in some ways, it almost seems like it's impossible to really do it. I mean, to get our kids, I know it's not, but to get our kids to the point where they can really feel confident that they can share anything with you as the parent.
Yeah.
And going back to what we were talking about, if they feel like they have to be perfect, they'll probably not talk to you when they should, when it's important. When they find themselves in a situation, because at some point they will, and it would be, and then they make a decision, I'm going to hide this one. I'm not going to talk to my parents. And, the deeper, the more serious situations are the ones we really want them to talk to us about.
Absolutely. The ones we want to know about.
Exactly. So we must and I know the dynamic of every family is different, but one of the core foundations that we should be able to have is a healthy expectation of our kids. And a healthy expectation of our kids will look different from child to child based on their ability, based on where they're at in life, based on, many factors. And so as a parent, you have to really navigate that. I mean, it's all a navigation. Like you said earlier, it's small changes throughout life, throughout the day. It's like driving a ship or a boat. Like the wind comes, you've got to make corrections, course correction, like lots of little ones. So it's a constant thing you have to monitor.
Well, and have you ever heard the analogy of like a plane, an airplane, the flight path plan that they take, and how, they constantly course correct because airspeed, I'm not a pilot, but, constantly make adjustments. And if you go off like even like 1 degree off course for a continued amount of time, you'll end up like 1,000 miles from your destination. You know what I mean? Like this huge, it makes that little bit. So it's that constant kind of bringing back and checking in and, checking your spirit. And, for me, especially with my middle schooler, because we talked about last time, it's like a weird age. They're like, it's hard to navigate. It's hard, I think, as a parent too, to kind of, he doesn't tell me things, or he's not really even sure how he feels about things. So he even has a hard time like divulging or figuring out like, why'd you do this? I'm not really sure, Mom. That's a lot of the conversation. And kind of using that intuition, to just kind of tap in and like check in, like what's his what am I thinking about him today? What is my spirit telling me about him? Like, does he need an extra hug, or does he need space? Because that's totally appropriate for his age, you know? But it's that course correction, you know, like you don't want to lose sight of your vision, your direction for too long, because you'll get so far off course. Kind of, you can't take your hand off the wheel. No. You know, you're not going into autopilot as a parent, like, ever.
Right. That's for sure. That's why,
unfortunately, guys, sorry.
And that's why sleep is important. It's a constant thing. But it's a beautiful thing when you. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in that self-care, you know, that like you are a person beyond being a parent too. Yeah. Like, it's very important to, you know, take care of your own soul and your own needs as well, and not to just put them on the back burner, because you won't be as effective at parenting if you're totally spent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, self-care, really, really important. High sleep. I know that's important, just to rest, so that when you are awake, you can really keep your hand on that pulse, stay active. There's a whole host of things that when we open up the box of self-care that many of us probably don't do enough of, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. And every day is a little bit different. You know, there's days I'm like, I'm doing a great job. And then there's other days I'm like, did I drink water today?
Right.
Like, I didn't even have a sip of water. I probably need to do that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Well, this is so good. I really appreciate the value that you're bringing in the conversation that we're having here. If you're out there listening today and you just you appreciated what you've heard, and you want to dive deeper with Cami, I know that she is doing some things in her space, and I want you to take a few minutes and share a little bit about that, to update us what's happening.
Yeah, so I run challenges for families. My goal is to really support all types of families, but specifically special needs families, because I think we've lost our ability to really understand how to take care of ourselves, like how to improve our health and improve our wellness. And so I do a lot of education around that. And it's funny you talk about self-care, because that is one of the topics that I bring up. And I kind of dispel some myths. I think that self-care has gotten a little bit of a bad name, like, oh, it's just getting a massage or getting your nails done, or, you know, and it's really not. From my perspective, it is the ability to take care of yourself. So what does my body need today? Right. You know, did I not get enough sleep? Do I need to drink some water? Am I making terrible choices in what I'm putting in my body, you know, nutrition-wise? Am I eating too much sugar? And, you know, so that you can really optimize your physical and emotional health. Because I'm not sure that people understand either the link between physical health and emotional health. And we've got an emotional mental health crisis on our hands, and a chronic illness crisis. Right. So we really need to get serious, and it's up to all of us. We cannot leave it up to the medical community. We cannot leave it up to our, you know, health insurance companies to be mandating things. Like they don't always have our best interests at heart. So I feel very strongly as a parent that it's my job to really understand health, understand wellness, understand emotional well-being, so that I can start to create a stronger family, you know. And my family was very sick for a long time. Jeffrey, you know, was very sick, chronic illness for a very long time. And it took a long time for us, you know, for me to figure it out. And so I run challenges. They're educational challenges, 7 days, and where I just give you all of my wisdom, everything that I learned over, you know, the past 15 years really of research, and doing the things and failing forward and being like, whoop, that didn't work, or, you know, and kind of creating a toolkit so that I have things at my disposal so that I can manage most of what happens, comes into our life in my family, you know, whether it be the cold, virus, to emotional upset at school, to Jeffrey and his special needs and sort of the support that he needs as far as behaviors and focus and, you know, that kind of stuff. creating really just a lifestyle around health and wellness.
So for those of the people that may be watching, whether live or on the replay, and they are not familiar with what a challenge looks like, take a minute, walk us through what does that look like? What is a challenge?
Yeah, so the way that I set up my challenge, it's 7 days. So the intention of the challenge is to immerse you in the information. Mm-hmm. So it's like you get into the challenge and you're going to learn information and you're going to do something like right away. It's putting knowledge into action right away. And so the way that I run my challenge, I have a different topic every day, but I also supply participants with a challenge, like a sample pack. So you'll have products to work with as well, because I will educate on a topic and then I will also give you a tool to use. If this is an area that is a struggle for you, here is a tool that's going to help you to move through this, because I feel very strongly that you can learn everything you want to learn, but if you don't actually move that needle a little bit, take that step, right? And it's a small step. It doesn't have to be like large. It's very simple. Do this next thing and see how you feel. If we don't start moving that needle, we're not going to make progress. And so it's 7 days. There's, products to use every day so that you can start to get some, learn and also put some tools into action and create your toolkit. And then, at the end of 7 days, I also have the ability for people to continue to work with me over time. So for those people that really want to dig in and do a deep dive with me for a full year, so that I can only teach so much in 7 days.
Right. And so all these teachings, all the 7 days are live.
Mm-hmm. So all the 7 days are live.
Okay.
And I'm active in the group to answer questions. I also do a couple Q&A calls where people can get on a video call with me and ask me specific questions. Every family is a little bit different, so I want to make sure I give of myself in that time.
So it's very interactive.
Very specific questions. Absolutely, yeah. It's not recorded. I mean, it's recorded if you can't be on live, because obviously different time zones and countries and stuff. Right. But yeah, I'm physically present in the group during challenge week so that people can get some one-on-one time.
Very good. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
yeah,
definitely.
I love
so
it.
How do they find that?
So my Facebook business page is Family Wellness Warriors.
Okay. And we'll put the comment. We'll put a link in the comments shortly.
Okay, and I can put a link. I can give you the link too for the challenge itself, for the registration for the challenge, because that actually opens Monday. It'll close on Sunday. I have my next challenge starts February 8th. So I need everybody to register by February 2nd, so that I can get the challenge packs out in time. So you have them for the start of the challenge. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. So we'll put the link to that, to the challenge and to your website in the comments just after the show.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jason.
That'll be really good. And so I think this probably is a good opportunity to kind of transition into more of maybe what you'll be covering in your challenge, but on the essential oil side.
Yeah. So, I feel very strongly, and I always have, I think, looking back over my life, learning coping skills, kind of learning what to do. I don't know if it's chicken or the egg, right? Was it after I became a nurse that I felt like I needed to be able to teach people how to do things? That's a lot of what nurses do. Or did I become a nurse because that's just who I am innately, right? But especially with my son, I had to have more tools. I remember clearly feeling like I was out of my depth with him. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. I need somebody here with me, like super nanny or something, because he was having a lot of behaviors, but he was also hospitalized all the time. So I was constantly looking for the next doctor that would maybe help give me the thing that would unlock the key to fix the situation. What I've learned is that it's more about having a toolbox. Right. So you can look at it and be like, what do I need today? And essential oils just became a huge part of the toolbox that I use. And it makes me, Jason, honestly, it hurts my heart. And I try not to be the crazy oil lady on Facebook. But it hurts my heart when people are posting oh my gosh, I've had the flu for this long, or now I have a cold, or I had strep throat 6 times, or my baby has an ear infection again, or because that was my life. I'm not judging them, because I was them. I was that person. And now we're not, because I started to understand that there were things that I was doing that I needed to stop doing. And when there were tools that I didn't even know existed that I could bring into our life that would open up a completely different avenue for health and healing. And essential oils are absolutely incredible. Plant medicine in general, essential oils, herbal supplements and those types of things. There's a lot of promise there. And we got away from plant medicine. It was actually all due to money. And you can look it up. I forget exactly what it's called. I'll have to think about it. But it was when medical schools came into existence. So they had a really, everything was plant medicine before that. And then the medical schools started up because they wanted to standardize education for doctors. Totally makes sense, right? Like all of that is good. But then big money got involved. And so they actually shut out like the herbalists and the aromatherapists and kind of the natural medicine. And so everything really shifted. And then so none of that education was available in medical schools anymore. Like wasn't even talked about. So they became those, older, whatever. I mean, this was in the early 1900s, but, herbalists and aromatherapists and, people who had, very thriving, medical communities and were helping people all of a sudden became the quacks. But it was all money driven, so which is unfortunate. That's the way a lot of things work. And so we've just swung so far away from plant medicine that they don't even know that it exists. And it does. And I'm not saying that you abandon one for the other. There's a lot of research to show that they can work in tandem and you can have really good success by using both. And so that's what I do. If my kids are sick, do I take them to the doctor? Yes, if they need to go to the doctor. I mean, 9 times out of 10 it's viral or something and I can kind of manage it at home, right? A cold, necessarily need to run to the doctor, but now I have tools. Instead of looking at my kids and going, oh, you have a cold. Okay. Let me run out and put them on maybe a pharmaceutical that has a side effect that I'm not a fan of. How about I try this essential oil and give you some support and relief until we kind of work through this virus. But to be honest, and I was the camp nurse over the weekend and I was with sick people. There were definitely sick individuals at the camp and I did not get sick. I didn't even come home with a sore throat. And I was like taking care of them, like face to face, It was not like I was just peripheral. I was frontline. And that's what I found. Like my family's health is just so much better and we're so much more resilient because we have implemented some things to our health. So nutrition is important. Gut health is incredibly important.
What does that mean? What do you mean
gut
by
health?
Yes?
So I'm sure you hear that a lot, right? And then people go,
recently.
I don't even understand that. Okay. So this is just one of the pieces, but 2/3 of our immune system actually starts in the gut. We don't even realize that, how important the gut is. We think of the immune system as the white blood cells, the T cells, which they are like in our bloodstream. But the immune system, actually 2/3 of it resides in the gut. You have got natural, normal, good bacteria. That's what we call them, good bacteria inside your colon. There's millions of bacteria that are in there. And what they do is they prevent bad bacteria from taking over. Okay. They also help your immune system to function well. There's actually, you're in your gut, you actually start to make some hormones. You start to send some neurotransmitters up into your brain. So there's this gut-brain connection, this gut-brain axis that people talk about. It's amazing how intertwined all of that is. And so if you have an imbalance of good bacteria to bad bacteria, number one, you're more prone to infection. So you get this overgrowth of bad bacteria or yeast, which causes all of these GI symptoms, but also like systemic, can cause like a systemic illness or inflammation or whatever. Also causes some issues with emotional imbalance. So a lot of like the mental illness that we're seeing sometimes can really improve with an improvement in gut health. Wow. But what has happened, right, we have all these antibiotics. The antibiotics have come in and they decimate your gut. So if you are on antibiotics as a child, I was every day from the time I was 15 months old until age 4, I took an antibiotic every single day. Wow. Because I had a genetic condition that put me at risk for kidney infection, and they could not repair that until I was 4. So every day of an antibiotic. We didn't know about probiotics. We didn't even understand what good gut bacteria was in the early 70s or mid 70s. And no wonder why I had a ton of gut issues as I grew up. So my gut bacteria was completely decimated and it was off balance. So for me, it presented itself as irritable bowel syndrome. Everybody else, everybody's got their own kind of thing. But I had to do a lot of healing in my gut to get my gut back into balance. That microbiome really needs to be balanced. So it's the right amount of good bacteria doing all the good jobs. It also helps with digestion. It helps with nutrient absorption. It's incredible how important your gut is to your overall function of your body. And they're finding links with not just mental illness, but even autism and the gut, gut balance issues. I think we're just starting to gain some understanding with how important this is.
Wow. And so I'm guessing that there's an oil for that.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. And what I really love, so here's the most exciting part of it. So a lot of essential oils are antibacterial in nature, which is great because we've got superbugs that a lot of antibiotics are not working well for. So that's like another scary, the superbug problem. So essential oils they have wonderful antibacterial properties. But the cool thing about them in research that they're finding is that if you take essential oils for antibiotics to treat an infection, what they're seeing in the lab is that the essential oils actually do not eradicate the good bacteria.
Oh, wow.
Only the bad, which antibiotics don't have the ability to do.
Right. It just wipes out everything.
Right. They're just like, you're all gone. Bacteria's all gone, which is not what we want.
Right.
We want there. So essential oils, for some reason, they're still kind of trying to figure out how that works. Right. But they are protective of the gut bacteria where antibiotics are not. So I love that, like as a nurse and as somebody that has suffered from, gut imbalance, being able to use something like that when I'm, looking at an illness or something has been really helpful. And then from a, digestion, like GI support, there's a lot of essential oils that can help with your GI tract. And I have found them, I don't know, I feel like there's like when people say like, I have an oil for that, like I really do.
Yeah,
like that's not just
it's
saying,
not just
that's not
saying.
just something on a shirt, right? Like I really do. I really have had so much success in this area that it pains me when I see people post. And listen, I'm not saying we never get sick. I'm not saying like I'll never have a cold forever in my entire life. Like that wouldn't be honest. But I have tools. So if I feel something, a sniffle, something in my throat. I mean, when I was dealing with all the sick people over the weekend, I was putting oils on all weekend. I was using essential oils that would help with my immune system so that my immune system I was obviously being exposed to things. I was washing my hands. I mean, I was doing all the things that we know to do, but incorporating essential oils into my routine really helped to keep me healthy.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. Our time is coming. We've only got a few minutes left. It's crazy.
I know. Just look.
But I do have to ask you this, like, what is the difference? Because I know that you have like a brand of oils that you go to. What's the difference in going to Walmart and picking up what they have on the shelf versus what you have?
Don't do it. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this in a short amount of time because I could really get into the science. So here's the thing. Essential oils are not regulated by any agency. Like pharmaceuticals are regulated by the FDA, good or bad, however you feel about that, big pharma and whatever. I mean, I have my own thoughts on the subject. I don't think they're all bad. I don't think they're all good, right? Money, unfortunately, comes into play. Yeah. So but the essential oil industry, the wellness industry, the supplement industry, they don't really have anybody that's saying like, it's not heavily regulated, which leads to people mislabeling things. We all know mislabeling happens, right? Mm-hmm. People like write stuff on labels and if they're not held accountable. So what we're finding, I mean, 84 or 85% of the lavender essential oil on the market is adulterated.
Okay.
Because so it's big business. It's not pure. So if I'm a smart business person, or not smart, if I don't have integrity in business, right, and I have 100 pounds of lavender essential oil, and I can separate that out and make add synthetics or add other stuff to it and make it last longer, I'm making more money at the end of the day than selling the pure oil.
So it's like
it really
adding more
does
water to the Kool-Aid.
Exactly. Add more water, or they'll still just add some vegetable oil, or they will work with perfumists and actually create something that's completely synthetic.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what you're getting unless you work with a company that has full transparency as far as all of their testing. And so that's why I align myself with doTERRA, because I can literally go on a website and put in a lot number for my essential oil, and I can get all 57 different tests the way that they test it. So they test it like organic chemistry, like looking at all the compounds. And so for me, especially as a nurse and a mom, I want to be sure that there's consistency in the products that I use, right? If I go get Tylenol at the store, I know that that consistency is there because the FDA requires it. You don't get that same level of reassurance in the essential oil industry. So doTERRA gives that totally transparent. Anybody can look. You don't have to call the company and get the results from them. And they test the oils like 17 different ways. And not just within their own house. I mean, we do our own testing, but they also test them third party. So it's like a
check and
somebody
balance.
who's
So it's
absolutely,
safe to,
and that's incredibly important.
Yeah. So it's safe to say that, if I decided, I want to try this essential oil thing and see if it works. So I go to the local Walmart and pick up something. It doesn't have the value that the ones that see the results have, and then it doesn't work for me. So then I give up.
Right. And people will say, like, I tried lavender for sleep and it didn't work. And I'm like, where'd you get it? And they will say Walmart or the dollar store or Target or Bed Bath & Beyond. And I'm like, that is because you did not have real lavender. It would be like buying fake Tylenol. If Tylenol does not have acetaminophen in it, you will not get the therapeutic benefits. It will not treat your fever. It will not take care of your pain. Like, that's the active ingredient.
But what if we put, like, in really big words, Tylenol on it? Will that help?
No.
So the label doesn't help. Yeah.
The label doesn't help. So you really need to know what's in it. And that's the chemical profile of an essential oil is what's really important, because then you're getting the active ingredients that we know cause the therapeutic benefit. If you're looking for a restful sleep, if you're looking for immune support, if you're looking for wound healing, if you're looking for, a decongestant, type effect, like, we know what essential oils should do that. But if they don't have the full chemical profile that you need, those active ingredients, you're not going to get the benefit.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm sure that there's a lot more to dive into here with this. And if you're listening and you want to, we have to end the conversation today. But if you want to go deeper with Cami and find out more about this, take her challenge. You'll learn more about that. You will have access to her. More questions and answers will be available. So again, we'll leave the link to be able to join that challenge in the comments here shortly. So hang tight for that. But Cami, thank you again for joining us. It's been a great hour.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again, Jason.
Yeah,
it was
no
great
problem.
to spend the afternoon with you.
Definitely. And so before we go real quick, let us know again what your idea of parenting accurately is.
I don't even remember what I said last time. I'd have to listen to it. But I think it's leaning into your intuition and leaning into your own power as a parent.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate you taking the time to be here again. And I'm sure, so I'll dive into this a little bit, and I'll try the essential oils. And next time we have you on, I'll give everybody an update.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason.
All right. Wow. What a day. What an hour. The time went by so fast. Again, I'm going to leave the comments, I'm going to leave the links to Cami's contact info and her website in the comments below. So check that out. We'll post that in just a few minutes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, watching the replay, watching live. I encourage you to come in, dive in with us. Leave a comment, send an email, let us know how everything's going. Let us know how this program has helped you. And I would like to get some feedback on, what do you guys need? What are some of the struggles that you guys are facing today? I know that, like I said, every home is different. Every family has a different dynamic, different culture, different traditions. Some have, and we all have different things that are, some things that are easy for us to do. And then we have some things that are harder. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid to check in. Say, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. I would like some help with this. This is really important. And when you guys do that, you're actually helping me co-create. You're working with me and we're co-creating something. As I mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, I'm really laying a foundation for what's coming. And I would love to get some input and feedback from you guys on what is it that you need as a parent, especially as a parent of teens or preteens. What are some of the specific struggles that you have? So don't be shy. Let's talk about it, bring them in, and that will give us some valuable feedback, because the whole purpose of doing this is to help you, to give you tools and information to help you in your parenting walk. So again, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to next time. The next guest, I'll firming up the date and the time this afternoon. So as soon as I get that, I will post the event and let everybody know. But let me tell you, it's going to be a hot topic. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Talk to you guys later.